Jonas, it's great to see you again. Welcome back to the UK. And of course, congratulations on the burning season as well.
Well, thank you so much. It's lovely to be back.
Fourth time, I think. But anyway, you've
Sure.
co-written the script this time. You're the lead actor as well. Where did the idea come from?
I knew I wanted to tell a story about, I wanted to do my version of scenes from a marriage or Before Sunrise or more recently, Marriage Story. And so I was working with a co-writer, Diana Francis, and we were trying to crack a story. And I had this other story that was a little more complicated and really just couldn't crack the story. Sometimes you work really hard trying to find the story and it just didn't gel. And I was ready to give up. And we came into one of our script meetings one day and Diana said, I have an idea. It's outside the box. It's not quite what we're doing, but what about a love story told backwards? That was all she had. And my eyes lit up and I thought, oh, there's something there about tracking a romance or a love story in the opposite direction. And we sort of took a lot of the ideas that we'd been developing in the other story and integrated them in. And so it's become so much more than a backwards love story. That just becomes the window or the lens with which we are looking at this relationship. But we really started to explore the idea of shared trauma and memory and addiction, and how you can become addicted to a person in the same way that you can become chemically addicted to drugs or alcohol or sex or romance. And that became sort of the catalyst for the burning season. Yeah.
Addiction certainly a theme that runs throughout because it affects both of the characters. I wondered what you felt telling the story backwards actually brought to the story, how it's maybe strengthened it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's interesting. We all have, myself, my co-writer Diana, and our director Sean Garrity, we all have a different answer for why the backwards storytelling works for us, or why we think it was the right choice for this story. For me, the movie is about secrets, and it's about what happens if you, what can happen if you keep a shared secret, and how can it affect your life and the life of the lives of those that are closest to you. And for me, I thought, what an interesting way to investigate the notion of a secret. And if we're trying to unpack the ramifications of secrets, what an interesting way to flip it on its head, so that what you're seeing is clearly the ramification of some secret, and you're watching the result of that secret, the psychological, emotional, and mental and physical results of what it means to keep that secret. But of course, the secret itself is a secret in the context of how we tell the story. And so what drives sort of the story forward, and what hopefully helps to keep your attention, is you really want to know, well, what is that secret? What is this that happened to these people that caused all of this? And I thought, what an interesting way to investigate secrets.
Yeah, I mean, there is that sort of almost detective story element to it as well, because you do get a reveal, dare I say it, at the beginning, or should it be the end? I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
But it is another story about love, and you're the romantic leading man again. Does that make you a bit of a romantic at heart?
Absolutely.
You big
How,
softy.
how could you tell? Yeah, it's funny. I think as a writer, I've now got 7 or 8 films that I've written or co-written over the years, and I don't really think about the common threads between them. I leave that up to the audiences and journalists like yourself, and it's only recently that that's been brought to my attention, is that these all seem to be about love, either unrequited or requited. And I guess I am a romantic at heart. I mean, I've always known I was a romantic since I was a little boy, and I remember, in 4th grade, buying a little plastic ring at the mall and giving it to a girl in the class and thinking, oh, this is gonna just blow her away. Of course, I don't think she received it as in a way that I was hoping, but maybe these films are my way of working through all of that.
So, having realised that you have done quite a few films about love, what keeps bringing you back to sort of love stories and romantic roles? And indeed, dare I say it, taking your clothes off a few times.
Now that is a coincidence, I have to say. I have to say that's a coincidence. I did definitely write nudity into the first few films, not with any perverted or ulterior motives, but I think most movies, most stories are love stories. I think even when love isn't the central theme, you'd be hard pressed to find any story or any influential movie or piece of literature or art that isn't about love. And so I think it's at the pun intended, the heart of everything we do as storytellers and as consumers of story. It's so integral to who we are as a human race, that I think it's just in there. It's in everything. And I am a romantic, so I guess I just keep coming back to it.
It's obviously your home territory, as it were. We've talked about the film working backwards. What order did you shoot it in then?
That's a great question. My director, Sean Garrity, who I've made several films with and who's a great collaborator and friend of mine, he sat me down before we were in prep and said, we have to shoot this chronologically from the beginning. So so that it actually is shot in sequential order, and then in editing we'll move it around. And I said, that seems impossible. And it was a logistical nightmare that I won't get into because it will bore you to tears. But typically you shoot out a location. So the way that my producer brain thought about it, well, okay, it takes place over 7 different summers. We have to shoot all of the scenes that happen in this cabin or cottage have to be shot in one day because we're in that cottage and the camera's there and the gear is there. So we'll just shoot chapter 7, chapter 5, chapter 3, chapter 4, and we're done with that cottage and we move on to the next location. But Sean, God love him, said, no, we have to shoot this sequentially, and it might mean moving around a lot, but it's important so that we can track the characters, so the actors can track the journey, so that we can feel that evolution. And it was very important to him that we shoot it that way. And so we did. We shot it almost completely in sequential order, and which was amazing because Sara and I, the actress Sara Canning, who plays my leading lady, we got to really feel the evolution of the characters in an organic way that was then manipulated in editing to look backwards.
Yeah, it does actually make sense. I can see where he's coming from, but that must have been fun and games on set. Talking about the shoot as well, the location, which is mainly outdoors, looks absolutely gorgeous. But I'm wondering if it really was as idyllic as it actually looks, and what the practicalities were in terms of, I don't know, the bugs and the wildlife, and maybe even the weather. Did it actually get in the way?
Oh, yes. Yes. I mean,
Just to complicate matters.
Yes. I mean, it seems so beautiful, and the whole thing was really based on, well, the idea of let's film this, in the gorgeous remote northern Canadian wilderness. But we really were in a remote northern location that we weren't. The nearest gas station was an hour and a half away, and the petrol. We just didn't have the resources that you normally would have when you're filming even in a small town. So there were challenges. I mean, my writing partner, Diana, who's also an executive producer on the movie, she'll tell you her main task was keeping the raccoons and other critters away from the craft table. I mean, we had to create all of these systems. We were filming in a place where movies had never been filmed. You couldn't bring large trucks in. I mean, it was really challenging, but as you can see in the movie, absolutely worth it, because the magic of Algonquin Park, which is a very well-known, famous, protected provincial park in Canada, it's so pristine and so beautiful, and it was quiet. Well, I'll give you that. You never had, buses or sirens or trains interrupting a shot. But it didn't come without challenges.
So how comfortable are you with the great outdoors?
I'm more of an indoor cat. As I like to say, I camp. My brothers forced me to go camping once a year, so I commune with nature. But I'm comfortable with comfort, and so. But I was quite taken by every day I'd get to watch a sunrise and a sunset out there, and it was really, I mean, just stunning and life affirming, and to film the movie and to tell a love story up in that beauty. And we have these gorgeous drone shots where the camera is just flying over the region, and it's every time I watch it I get chills. It's so beautiful.
Well, hopefully you're nice and comfortable indoors now for the festival. So enjoy yourself, and thank you so much for your time. It's been lovely to talk to you again.
It's been lovely talking to you again too. Thank you so much for everything, and I hope people love the movie.